There are a few differences between being paid as an independent contractor and being paid as an employee. So let's just hop right into it, because I find as a hiring manager and as a former independent contractor and employee that the differences, not everyone knows the differences. And sometimes I meet a lot of new recent graduates that take a job and they're not really quite sure what the difference is. So let's talk about the differences. All right. So when it comes to being paid as an independent contractor or as an employee, there are 3 T's that pretty much sum up the differences between the two. And when I talk about these 3 T's and the differences, I am talking about how it affects you as the employee or as the independent contractor, and how you are paid and the implications. I am not talking about how the business should classify you. I want to talk about how you are affected. All right. So the 3 T's are take home pay, taxes, and time. All right. So let's break each one of those down. And then hopefully when you get an offer of either one, you can decide if it works for you or not. And at the end of the day, it has to work for you. All right. The first is take home pay. So if you are an employee, your take home pay in theory is going to be lower than if you're an independent contractor. So let me start on the independent contracting side. Another term that you may also hear is 1099. So a lot of people will refer to independent contractors as 1099s because at the end of the year, you are going to be issued a 1099. Okay. And so there are taxes that are paid on your behalf as an employee. But if you're an independent contractor, say you make or you've negotiated $50 an hour for your services as an independent contractor. That could be as a speech therapist, occupational therapist, a tutor, whatever. But that's what you were getting paid. So if you work 10 hours, you will get a flat fee. You'll be issued $500 for 10 hours worth of work. Okay. Because nothing is being taken out. When you are an employee, whether you work for a hospital, a skilled nursing facility, McDonald's, Old Navy, if you are an employee of that company, there are taxes that company pays to the government directly on your behalf. And then also, they will also take money and send it to the government as well. All right. So taxes that you and your employer pays are federal income tax. We call that FICA, Social Security. You will also pay Medicare. And then if you live in a state that has a state income tax, you will also pay that. And so just know this is how we get to a tax refund. Okay. So at the end of the year, what happens? We file our taxes, or at the beginning of the year, we file our taxes. And if you have paid too much money to the government for taxes, that's why you get the tax refund. If you haven't paid enough, that is why you owe. So consider that when it comes to you have to do your withholding, you claim 1 or 2, that also will determine how much taxes you are paying to the government. And so it's not it's your money anyway. So just understand that, because a lot of times I see people using tax refunds almost like savings accounts. And I that's fine if that's what you do with it, but it's not like the government's giving you anything. They're just paying you back because you paid them too much. Okay. If you are an independent contractor, you have not had any taxes taken out at all. No employers paid on your behalf, and chances are you haven't paid on your behalf. So I highly recommend that you save between 20 and 25% of every 1099 or independent contracting money check, reimbursement that you get in a separate account. I am not an accountant, but I highly recommend that. You could talk to your accountant or your tax preparer about how much they estimate that you need to be sure that you are setting aside, because what you don't want is that you go get your taxes done, prepared, and you owe a huge amount of money and none of that you have saved. That is one of the worst feelings in the world, okay? There's nothing wrong. Either way is fine, but just realize that you are on the hook for taxes, okay? As an independent contractor. Okay, the next thing is take-home pay. Then there's taxes, and we've talked about that. So I want you to be clear that there are no taxes taken out if you're an independent contractor. If you're an employee, there are. And the last thing is time. So as an independent contractor, you own your time, because if you're independent contracting, you're saying, I am my own company and I am sourcing my services or giving my services to you, whatever company, for a return. And so the time that you spend is your own. In theory, you should be able to say when you do it and how you do it. And if there are cancellations, you may not get paid for that time, but in theory, you're getting paid more to kind of compensate for cancellations or lack of work, okay? If you're an employee though, your employer has the right to say what you do with your time. So if you have a cancellation or there is low work, your employer can step in and say, hey, during this low time or this slow time, I want you to plan. I want you to sanitize toys. I want you to clean a bathroom. I want you to wipe off a table. Whatever it is, your employer has the right to say what they want you to do with your time, because they're paying you for that time. All right. So keep that in mind. Also, I do want to say, when it comes to leaving, if you are an employee, there are rules, there are hopefully, and I hope that if you decide to leave as an employee, you give your employer 2 weeks notice at least, and give them time to find a replacement. And if you're an independent contractor, either side has the right to say, hey, this arrangement isn't working. The job is done. I no longer want to do this. And you can immediately just separate from the job that you are doing, because you're an independent contractor. They have no holds on you. But I do want to say, if you choose to be an independent contractor, they have no holds on you. And there are also no labor laws or no rules to protect you. So the company can say, hey, thank you for your service. Starting tomorrow, we won't need you anymore. If you're a person that doesn't like that or doesn't like the inconsistency of that, maybe being an independent contractor wouldn't work for you. Because when you're an employee, by law, and be sure that you are very clear on the laws, a company should give you notice, or they should give you a severance. They should do something to let you know that your services are no longer required. Okay, so I hope this is helpful, because at the end of the day, both are good avenues for making money and working, but you have to kind of decide if that's going to work for you. And that, I want you to have the information. So for now, my name is Adrienne Fuller. I want to be your mentor and more, talking about all things when it comes to your career, your job, and your business. All right, have a great day.